Hi, I'm the OBG. Right, that works. And hello, Phil. Hello, Martin. Today I'm going to be talking about the flat Earth. Hello, Timmy Creedy. So I'd like a lot of user input on this one. I'd love you to type in your thoughts or any ideas. After I've said a few things, don't set off yet. It's an amazing, interesting topic, and I'm not claiming to be the most informed on this subject, but I do have a feeling that most people don't have enough information. And let me just say this as well. Thanks, Martin. Always bringing people together. Let me just get this over here. Sound should be okay. Levels. Yeah, so, with the flat Earth, it's like many other things. People take it for granted. It's pretty much like the headline readers on Facebook. And I'm guilty of it too sometimes. But I think if you pay heed to it, you'll understand where some of our failings are. For instance, we have an opinion about something, quite a strong opinion, and we'll defend it. And when you think back about that subject in yourself, and you think, I don't actually know much about this subject. All I've been doing is reading the headlines. Hello, Paul. Just been reading headlines, and I've formed an opinion. But I've never done any study. If anything, I've read a few paragraphs into a story, or found some of you more discerning people, you've looked at an article or two, but you've never really gone in depth on the subject, and yet we put forward our opinions. And I think this is very true of many people who believe that the Earth is round, or the people who believe it's flat. However, I do believe that the people who believe it's flat, in the majority, have more information because it's a new field, something that you study. I'm not saying there aren't the people who just read the headlines about it, but many of the advocates of flat Earth have been doing some study. Whereas people who believe the Earth is round, we just believe it's round. We've never studied it. We just were told at school the Earth's round. The first thing you see when you go into your classroom as an infant at 5 years old, hello, John, is a globe, a round globe. No one ever explains to you how it's round, why we know it's round. We just told that the Earth is round, and we take it for granted. A little known fact by many people who believe all the space nonsense that NASA put out is that there's no up or down in space. They never used to draw the planet Earth with the North Pole and the South Pole. It just could be any way round because Earth has no up or down. But now our minds have been convinced that there's a North Pole and a South Pole, and England's over here, and America over there, and like Asia over there. But when I was in South America, I saw this massive map of the world, but America's in the centre of it, and it's quite weird. And it was quite out of shape as well. Greenland's so tiny, Africa's so tiny, and so on. And there is a map that shows you, I forget the name of it, but it shows you the actual, real size of the countries and so on, and puts Africa into perspective, because Africa's a place that people are robbing and raping and have been doing for, hundreds and hundreds of years. So they always show it as this small, insignificant place. Still big, but doesn't show its true power. And so, if anyone's got anything to say tonight about the Earth being flat, we'll talk about that in a short while. If there's any problems with sound, images, anything like that, just ping me on Messenger. Not for anything else. And this is really, really important, because I'll stop and I'll respond to the phone. So, right. So what I'm going to say, our modern understanding of planet Earth is derived from thousands of years of discovery. Early scientists, philosophers and explorers, who don't actually number as high as you think, have spent their lives trying to make sense of it. And some of these ideas are very new, and they only appeared recently. In fact, less than a century ago. And while the theory that the Earth is a sphere is more than 2,000 years old, it's not that old. Pythagoras, he had a hunch that the Earth might be shaped like a sphere. However, he was into spheres being the perfect shape, and he thought, well, the Earth must be one too. But what if the Greeks were wrong? What if everything you've been taught about planet Earth is wrong? What do your senses actually tell you? And that's one of the most important things, because most people believe that the Earth is a sphere. However, not everyone is convinced. And over the years, there's been a substantial growth in a group of people who call themselves flat earthers, and they're convinced that the Earth is flat. I mean, true, deep belief. And it's not clear when the official story came about the Earth being round, and we can only go by what the wealthy, literate, and mostly European historical perspective is, which means that for most of the history, the ones documenting everything we believe are simply those that control almost everything that we know. So to go back a little bit, Christopher Columbus set sail for Asia on the 3 ships, the Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Maria, and he was looking for new trade routes and to prove to King Ferdinand and Queen Isabella at the time that the Earth was round. And he actually landed in the Americas, not in India. He was a bit of an idiot anyway, Christopher Columbus. You should read up about him, it's interesting. He was brave, I'll give him that. For the men and women who are not documented that used to go out on these boats and sail to uncharted territories, it's amazingly valiant, often with an agenda, but all the same. So, and this is new to most of you. Christopher Columbus trying to prove the Earth is round was only popularised in his biography, and that was written in 1828 by Washington Irving. And Washington Irving, he's the guy who wrote Rip Van Winkle and The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So you can see that he has a propensity for fiction, and that very likely slipped into the Columbus story. And the theory that the Earth is a sphere predates Christopher Columbus by around 2,000 years, and it was likely first proposed by Pythagoras, and Plato also continued Pythagoras' teachings. And when Aristotle came along, the evidence that the Earth curvature was introduced after he did some calculations with moving stars and also the round shadow on the moon. And gravity was later attributed to all of this by Isaac Newton. And gravity is just another crock of shit, by the way, something that I've studied and studied and studied. It's made up. It somehow fits into equations and works with things, but it's still an unknown. And I forget his name. I was just saying Eratosthenes, another Greek. He conducted an experiment around 200 BC by measuring the angle of the shadows from sticks placed at a great distance apart, which were in Sunny and in Alexandria, and that gave him an idea that the Earth was curved. But once again, if people quote this as proof, it doesn't prove the Earth's round. It proves that he's just found a curve over a distance. And anyway, these teachings, they carried on, and within time, the idea that the Earth is a sphere spread across Europe and Asia, and it wasn't long before it became a commonly held belief worldwide, and at least in academic circles, that it was round. And perhaps the most definitive was in 1519 when we're taught this at school, brainwash it, Ferdinand Magellan, you probably know the name, set out on a journey to circumnavigate the globe. Ferdinand Magellan, he was Portuguese. He was born around 1480 during the great rivalry between Spain and Portugal. But anyway, he began serving as a page to the Queen of Portugal, and then he later joined a fleet of 22 ships on a voyage to India, to Mumbai in his mid-30s. And he was a seasoned sailor with massive ambition, and he obsessively studied maps and charts, and he was looking to find a way to achieve greatness. And he did. In fact, they've got a place called the Strait of Magellan named after him. And he attempted to find new routes to the Spice Islands in Indonesia by sailing west around the globe. You can read more about them in your own time anyway. I don't want to go too much into them. I only found all this stuff out today, or most of it. So jumping ahead, the next proponents of the Earth being round were NASA. Yeah, I can hear those groans. NASA was founded in 1958 after a sign-off by President Eisenhower, and they first started providing photographic evidence in abundance only years after President John F. Kennedy made a national goal of the United States to send men to the moon, which was on July the 16th, I think, in 1969, apparently. And don't forget that humans holding the belief that the Earth is a sphere was always theoretical, anecdotal, until around the later half of the 20th century when the photographic evidence became available. But it only came from NASA. So let's talk about it. Right, so flat Earth. Let's do this. Martin's sitting on the fence. If anyone wants to say anything, please go ahead and type in, because today's show, as I said, I didn't say I'm going to say, I'm not going to be explaining all of my ideas about flat Earth and so on, unless I get some feedback. And if not, then I'll just make a static video in the near future and post that up onto YouTube. So, is it flat or is it round? What do you think? Let me tell you some of my thoughts anyway. Hello, Justin. Yeah, Justin, it'd be interesting to hear some of your ideas as well, because we've only believed it's round for the shortest time. Everyone always thought the Earth was flat. So it's been promoted as round, with some people finding out some new ideas and so on. And for us, our senses tell us that it's flat. It doesn't mean that it is necessarily just because our senses, but for me, it's more a philosophical thing. Your Earth is flat. It's something people say like, oh yeah, I've got the internet now, brilliant. I can contact the whole world, and you don't speak to the whole world. You never will. It's not important. It doesn't matter to you. It won't affect your life. If something, a massive event happens globally, it could affect you, but often doesn't. For instance, if I can think of a really massive event that occurred globally, Chernobyl, a nuclear reactor, exploded, and then we're told that we're all going to die and there's radiation in the air. And we all went, oh, like that for 5 minutes. If you measure that on a lifetime scale, we went, it didn't even register. And everyone's forgotten about Chernobyl and the dangers. And now, like my friend Chrissy, she goes over and she's sent some beautiful photos. It's a tourist attraction. It's like a wow factor. But all the danger and that's gone. It hasn't truly affected us. And it's the same with this flat Earth and the stories that they put out of the shape of the Earth. Like NASA telling us it's flat. Now, NASA, I believe that they are doing it just to continue doing maths, to continue being. Maths is overrated. Maths. What do you know about maths? What can maths tell you? How can maths prove that the Earth is round? You ask somebody, what shape's the Earth? It's round. How do you know? Maths. And it's like, right, that doesn't make any sense. Maths isn't the proof that it's round. And maths can't have a method. People have to have the method, and people have to have the proof. There's no way that just maths alone can tell you that the Earth is round. As mentioned earlier, they've done an experiment with 2 sticks. You put 2 sticks quite a distance apart, and then you can see, their shadows from the sun, and that would prove that the Earth is round. But for people who don't know maths, and I do, I'm shit hot at maths, if anyone wants to come forward and challenge me on anything here, you would get exactly the same shadows if the sun was only 30 miles away and the Earth was flat. So it doesn't prove anything. I'm looking for proof there, not like anecdotes, people saying, oh, it must be round because you don't have to prove it, rather. Okay, it's about a discussion, sorry. But think before you post anything, because a lot of the evidence towards flat Earth and towards round Earth are both coming from people with very limited knowledge or very fancy ideas as to why. So actually, I'm not looking for proof. I apologise on that one, Aid. It's not about the proof, but it works for whatever model you use, and the maths applies to a flat Earth model as well as a round Earth model. So I'd be interested to hear anyway, and I won't put no one down. Is it round? Is it flat? What do you think, and why do you think? And I'll accept whatever you, whatever you say, and maybe we can discuss that, because I'm not here to prove whether it's flat or round, but maybe to sometimes add my voice of reason to say that ships disappearing over the horizon and all these other old stories that we hear, pretty much nonsense. Gaz, any reason why you would say that? This whole idea of it being a ball Earth is brand new. It's brand new. And it comes from very few people. People say, oh, people have sailed around the world. And it's like, who sailed around the world? A few people. And they're sponsored by all the people at the top who want to relay messages and so on. That you can't, people say, well, you can fly a plane around the Earth. It's like, you get in a plane and you try flying thatwards, you will be shot down. Or you're given routes that you have to take. Hello, Charlie. Hello, Jonathan. Cuz. Shannon. Isutia. I'm getting there. So, any comments on that? the Earth round, flat. The Flat Earthers are a movement. They're formed. I was a member of the Flat Earth in 1995. I joined in the UK. I was one of the not very first, but very early members. And I joined just out of interest, to be honest, because my mind was expanding. I was reading at the time Robert Anton Wilson's. The trilogy. What are those books Robert Anton Wilson wrote? Gaz, you probably know those. Robert Anton Wilson, the Illuminati trilogy. And, my mind was expanding more than it ever was. And I joined that out of interest. And I read it and I thought, wow, I believe the Earth's round all this time. And I didn't have no other reason to believe it's round other than when I was 5 years old and I walked into a school. I saw a round globe, which I was fascinated by. I always used to spin it, and then I've got a large family, 5 of us, children. We used to play games where you had to guess the country, so we were always playing with the globe, and I was fascinated. But I just assumed it was round because I saw a round image of the Earth and a round... Yeah, I'm live, Angela. And by the way, look what I got for Christmas. It smells genuine. I got this today from my good friend Elizabeth. She bought me this today. And she said I can open it. I'll be selling them soon. So if you don't want to contribute just out of the love of your hearts to keep this show running, you can at least get some merchandise, or as the young people say, some merch. By the way, if any of you have got any plans on setting up a channel or your kids, whatever, talk to me. Consultation only, you pay for this. Right. So Ange is an open minder, there's no surprise there. Ange's got a very open mind anyway. Cosmic Trigger as well, Dave John Unwins. That was Robert Anton Wilson and David Heaney. I forget the other guy's name. But we've been sold this idea that the Earth's round. And what I want to question about the people who say it's round and those who say it's flat, how could you know? And the only way at the moment that people are seeming to know that the Earth is round is because they were told, or because they saw a picture. And I don't think anyone's seen a picture of the Earth. I think the last picture that they ever published was done in 1957 or something like that, a complete picture. No one's seen that. And everything else after that is a composite image. So you'll see like Photoshop, like cloned clouds and so on. And it's a representation of what the Earth looks like. It's a rock spinning through space. And as adults, we're always shown these images, oh, this is a solar system. And it's like, hold on a second. If I showed you a cartoon picture of anything, you wouldn't believe it was true. Look, this is Mickey Mouse. It's not a real mouse. It's a cartoon of a mouse. But, mice exist, I guess, but not in that form. And then as adults, we're still, inundated with these images. Oh, this is the solar system. Beautiful colours. This is Neptune. This is like Pluto. This is Mars. This is a red planet. This has got rings on it with these colours. And then as a distraction, many years ago, only about 3 years ago, in fact, actually, they showed us this image. Oh, look at these planets, like 10 billion light years away, and they're beautifully coloured. And it just beats me. And I know they have methods of, that enable them to colour images, but in the main, they're totally and utterly made up. And NASA, which was formed in 1958, was made up of Nazi scientists that they brought over from Germany after the Second World War, and other people, like of ill repute. That was Operation Paperclip when they brought the Nazis over. And, they had good rocket scientists, literally. And it takes rocket science to work for NASA. You have to be a rocket scientist. And they started producing all this stuff after, they decided they were going to go to the moon and showing us these fake images. And people actually still believe that we went to the moon in this day and age. And this is something that I can't sit with. A great piece about tides, and that's about the pull of the moon and so on, and gravity. But how would gravity work? It doesn't even make sense. Now, they've made some kind of idea of it and saying, oh, it must be the core of the Earth and it's pulling stuff inwards, rather than a downwards force. And if you follow that theory, it kind of makes sense. But then the Earth's a ball spinning through space, and everything sticks to it, but there's this other planet there which is also much larger than the Earth, and that's pulling with a force. So everything is perfectly placed with their own force of gravity at their core, like the distance of the sun, which is meant to be 93 million miles away. I don't know how sun's rays work to this day with an object that far away. That's something worth looking into. But everything is absolutely perfectly placed and moving in unison with each other. And, you know, it could be so, but I still find that very, very hard to believe. Hello, Base. Hello, Lydia. So, CGI, there's a hell of a lot of CGI involved in there. This is what I believe as well. When you look at... Now, this is going to go hard conspiracy for some of you, so be prepared. And let me say this in your face. The space station. Now, the space station, I've been looking at images of the space station and I'm not convinced. I'm just not convinced. And for those of you who don't believe and just think, oh, people who make up these so-called conspiracy theories are crazy, look at the footage yourself. When someone's suspended by wires in any movie, you can see the way that their body weight shifts. You know, they're always held up just around the waist on cables and they kind of lean forwards. And you can see, look very closely, the way gravity works and the way gravity pulls our bodies down. You just know when someone's suspended on a wire, especially if they've got like tight clothing on, meaning in their form, you know, trousers and tops and so on. And on the space station, those people are just held up on wires. It's so obvious. And then another trick they do is when you are in zero gravity, especially for people with long hair, and there's the female astronaut on there, your hair kind of moves around. You know, it flows around. It's, you know, it's less than, you know, like the Earth's gravity. But they always show this woman with her hair, you know, like out like that, not moving, like with must be held in place with space gel or something. I'm going to find an image as well, hair, because it just makes me laugh to see the image. And yeah, I.S.S, International Space Station. You know, there is no I.S.S. They send rockets off. And even with basic maths, when you look at the way rockets take off, and this is where maths work, you can use math for proofs and so on. But whenever they fire a rocket from planet Earth to go out into space, look at the trajectory, plot it with, you know, basic maths, and you can see that that rocket's going to land back on Earth at some point. It's not heading towards the stars. The Big Bang. I'm in mixed minds about the Big Bang because I arrived at the Big Bang myself. I probably heard lots about it before. I was at a club one night, and I met Ebenezer. I was with Ebenezer and Lucy as well. You know, Lucy, she was in the sky with diamonds, and I was dancing, and then suddenly all these numbers came into my head and creation, and boom, and then suddenly the Big Bang happened. It was like, wow, and it made sense. So I think you need to be with Lucy and Ebenezer, mind you, to really hold on to those theories. Yeah, there's a lot of underwater stuff as well, a lot of underwater filming, Gary, you know, it's obvious. Hello, Tommy, Phil, and Bat. So, oh yeah, dinosaurs. Don't even get me started on dinosaurs. But anyway, this isn't about dinosaurs. This is about the Earth being flat and so on. But I'll do something on dinosaurs in the near future. So, anyone want to put any input, anything a little bit more solid, rather than just one worders. Hello, Brenda. Jesus Christ, long time. Justin, I've watched a few documentaries on this subject, and certain things make it plausible. No-fly zones, all the speculation surrounding polar regions, and even shooting rockets up into the sky, and they seem to hit some sort of dome. Now, once again, as I said, that stuff used to seem far-fetched for me, but the more study I do, then the more it does become plausible. Because don't forget, we've got really limited knowledge. You know, you get up in the morning, you've been doing it for years and years. You go to work, you come home, that takes up a lot of your time. And every now and then you glance at a newspaper headline. And now we've got Facebook, you glance at a headline. If you have time, you read the story. But if not, you just read the headline and then, you know, the lead paragraph or something. And then we've made our minds up as to that being either true or not. Even the papers we don't like. You know, I've seen people say, no, I don't usually read the Mail, but, and then they quote a story. And this is hardcore, you know, anti-fascist people. So we're always getting a look because that's one of the main, newspapers of the UK, or, you know, people who say they don't like USA Today or CNN or so on in other countries, but they still look at what those countries have to offer as headlines. We're programmable as human beings. So for every little bit of data that comes in, it's a new line in our coding, and regardless of believing whether it affects you or not, it does. And this is why I don't watch television, and this is why my source comes from the internet. And even then, I must say, I think I've developed a skill because I've worked at it. Not just that I say, oh no, it doesn't affect me. I work really hard at it, like a I don't look at my screen while I'm scrolling if I'm looking for something in particular. I use the search very often, so it takes me directly to what I'm looking for, more or less, without me having to, keep on taking in new trainers and those. You must have seen them, unless they're targeting me. Those lights that you use for fitness, you put them on the stairs, you put them on the floor, you can harness yourself up in wires and use them and so on. So we're being fed lots and lots of silly information, whether it's to buy or, as you can see, I'm talking about the existence of something, or whether the earth is round, and once again I'd be talking about the existence of something because they have sold us that idea and can and keep on selling us these ideas. Yes, you can tag people in it. You have to put the @ symbol before their name, and it should pop up. Just a second. So let's have a look. Help. Stop. Right, live. Yeah, you can tag. Okay, so any more? Yeah, Kev has got quite a lot to say on this subject as well. So anyone else want to offer up anything? Because as I said, I'm just going to come in today, quickly start off with an introduction, see if I can get a conversation going about flat Earth. Hello, Omar. And if not, then I'm going to move on. So I've been talking about the Earth being flat or round, about people not having conclusive evidence, and it not necessarily has to be conclusive, but some idea of why it's not flat, rather than simply what they've been told. And once again, our perception individually is of a flat Earth. You can't see any curve. If you look into the distance, if you're in a place without buildings, it appears flat. The fact that water sits flat and can't follow a curve is also, an idea that people put forwards. I sit in the middle. For me, it's a philosophical exercise more than anything, just to say that my Earth is flat. In my existence, my community, as I was talking earlier about, having access to the whole world, or claiming we have access to the whole world because we have internet, when in fact we don't. I could have access to a whole globe or a whole flat Earth, but I don't. I have access to a very small area at any one time, and that's my world. Hello, Tommy. I've seen videos. Tommy's just asked if I've seen any of the videos of the big toy rockets. I've not seen any of them hitting a dome, and I do still find that hard to take on, as open as I try to be open. I don't mean that it's hard to take on. I haven't yet seen any proof of it, but I've seen people sending rockets up and, like filming the Earth, and it just looks flat, forever, no matter how high they go. And, some people say, well, it is round. I've seen the curve when that guy done that highest skydive ever, which was likely sponsored by all the people who want us to believe it's round. And I think those people don't know what a fisheye lens is more than anything else. Oh, Justin, you know about? Oh, yeah, I suppose you do anyway. So, anything else to anyone want to offer up on this flat Earth, round Earth thing? Keep talking. Keep talking. Keep your strategies going, and let me see if I can get this video sorted here. I've got a new intro filler. I just want to play it live to see what it looks like. Just to fill in the gap. Da-da-da. Let's do this. Oops. Now listen. This is O-B-G. O-B-G. This is O-B-G. This is O-B-G. That'll do. That'll work. Okay, so. Hello, Alex. You and Tommy sitting on the same sofa. It's not about what I need to see to prove it or anything. It's about me, in a way, challenging people and their beliefs and why they want to see. So what would I need to see? I'd need to see it. You know, I don't need to see everything in life. I believe Mount Everest is there, for instance, and I've never seen it. I think I've flown past it sometimes. I must have been on enough planes. But no one sells it to me. Some people say they've been there, and I choose to believe them or not. You know, as someone said they climbed it, I choose to believe them or not. But you know, it's the fact that these agencies such as NASA keep on selling the idea that the Earth's round, and they keep finding planets, and they got like $19 billion in funding of American taxpayers last year. And other people who keep on arguing and fighting. This is what my interest is, because there's a fight going on, and I want to know not necessarily who's going to win, but I'd like to know why people are fighting, what they're fighting about. And it seems to me that they're fighting for a belief, many of them, that they were just told as a child, yet they have no evidence to back it up, and it makes me wonder why they're fighting. Hello, Lenny. So, yeah, Angela says, I can't conform or deny what shape it is, but I have the capacity to take information and not form an opinion. And I'm the same. I can't deny or confirm what shape it is. So, you know, once again, I have to sit in the middle. But every now and then I lean over to one side and think, oh, well, it must be round because... And then, you know, I'm looking for evidence to that. And then other times I think, well, no, it's obviously flat because... And then I can see why it's... flat. So I have to go in the middle and think, okay, I'm not going to be pulled by any one school of thought, because both of them have opposing views and evidence to back their claims up. And the issue I have with the round one more so is that much of the evidence that proves it's round is incorrect. Now, if you are a believer in the moon landings, just consider this. Even if they did manage to land on the moon, look at all the videos of those lunar modules and how they take off and how they keep on failing. They still had to get that lunar module off of the moon and get it to dock with an orbiting, you know, like craft, and then, you know, get it back to Earth. And when you understand and look at the engineering and the mathematics and, you know, the ability that has to go into that, you'll become a non-believer as well. The kids, come on in, kids, let me corrupt your minds. I'm the one begetter, I'm the corrupter of young minds. So, yeah, hello, Simon. Anyone want to add anything new to that? Because, not that I'm running out of things to say, but I need to guard some stuff for my video. And as I said, it's not about being too high level or too low. All it is they're not points that we'd likely discuss. Hello, Barbara. They're not stuff likely, but we're going to discuss here. They're views that I want to put in the video that people can think about. So anyone else want to type something in? Anyone want to ask me a question, or anybody want to put forward their view as to why they may think it's round? And don't be embarrassed. It's not about me saying anyone's wrong or anyone else thinking you're wrong. It's simply about your view, what shape you think it is, and if you've got any reason for believing so, you know, say so. But I think people need to get fake accounts so they can speak freely here. And if not, I will be going off of the air 1 minute from now. And for your pain and for you not joining in, I'm going to make you suffer this again. Now listen, this is... Okay. Everyone's gone quiet over there, so I think I'm going to wind up on that one. Thanks for your time this evening. It's been great. Unless you want to talk about something else, maybe I can keep this section for YouTube, and then we can move on. If not, then I will say goodbye, you shysters. And on that note, thanks for tuning in. I'm the OBG. I don't think people really know the true hypnotic power of television. You know how it pulls us in and just keeps telling us to consume, buy, and tells us to hate each other and separates us and causes the greatest divides, all under the name of entertainment. And every time I turn on my TV, it's just like no surprise. It's all of those programs and they're pushing out lies. And in between there's the adverts and they do it again. And they're trying to convince us that we're friends and have us trained like good little soldiers.